But moving on to Superman and Lois, a show that all three of us watch and is so packed full of drama. And apparently this episode, I would say sci-fi horror.
Hmm.
I wasn't ready for the sci-fi horror. It was excellent though.
That was one of the most unusual sequences when they were all like floating towards the hole I have ever seen in my life. And I have watched all of these shows. I have seen every single episode of all of these shows. And that was like, you're right, something out of a sci-fi horror. We think it was designed in a way to make you not know what was going on here. Because I was like, is this like badly designed? I can't follow this. And then afterwards you realize, oh no, wait, you weren't supposed to. The whole thing was quite terrifying, even after it was over. The after effects it left the characters with. Um, the fact that even Ali Alston seemed surprised by it, and she's never fazed by anything. I have to say, that kind of stayed with me afterwards. I thought this show has taken such a dark turn, and yet it deals with the character aftermath really, really well. It was that was a scene that stayed with me because seeing Superman not be able to save everyone and then see how that not only impacted him but impacted the lens and that was Lucy involved in it, and then the twist that came at the end, excellently executed.
First of all, Ali Alston needs to get a job immediately. Second of all, imagine my shock. Like I'm watching, I go on Twitter to check out, the live tweets. I look up and they're like in full like astronaut gear going into like this thing. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, I can't even pretend to understand what happened in this episode.
It was a lot. I mean, I will say though, that whole I'm not calling it a blah, blah, portal. There's the word I'm looking for. Like a portal sequence. It was just so what are words? Because it was a lot for me watching it. I guess it's because I didn't expect that type of sequence on the CW. Like a streaming show, sure. But to have a whole horror moment for them, involving something that just didn't it fit. I will say it fit. I'm sorry, I'm lost for words because I'm still stuck on it. Like I just don't know how my brain broke watching it. And my brain broke watching it because again, I think one of the things that Superman and Lois does so well is that it is changing the framework of what you can do on a CW show. But of course, they have budget. So they can do a lot more than a lot of the other shows can do.
They had that Dumbledore ad break. They got the Harry Potter commercial money.
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
So
they did.
That budget's there.
Yeah, I have to agree. When I just was describing the sequence there, I went over the same words over and over again because I feel like I'm not really sure how to describe it. I know I said it was intentionally designed to confuse us and like confound us and like WTH. And it's such a moment that you're right. Like I said, I've seen every single episode of an Arrowverse show, and I've never seen anything quite like that on it. It did feel like kind of Superman and Lois is helping the CW graduate into a new genre, into a new like presentation of what is allowed, not just on network TV, but on the CW itself. It pushed boundaries. And I know the whole dark route isn't for everyone, but I think they really succeeded in what they attempted to do, which was confuse the heck out of us.
They did. I like that you mentioned darkness, Michael, because I think the show does really well balancing its light moments and its dark moments. So you have this whole thing with Ali and her acolytes and them basically sacrificing themselves to this portal, thinking that they're gonna join with their shadow selves. But then you have Lana getting ready for her debate with, is that the mayor? I think it's the mayor. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't care for that man. So I don't know his name. And she's in the kitchen at the dining table with Kyle going over these questions and having a real emotional moment with her estranged husband, but also having to deal with the fact that it doesn't really matter that he's the one who strained their marriage. She's going to be the one on the platform and she's going to be the one who has to deal with these invasive questions. And she can't avoid them because if she avoids them, it's seen as her hiding and she doesn't want to hide.
Mm-hmm. No, I have to say this show's balance is incredible. And like when you watch the other shows, you absolutely adore the triumphant superhero moments. Even I've spent my whole life loving those moments. But Superman at Lois is the one show I watch where I almost get frustrated if there aren't enough character moments in it either, because the like family drama, the like Lana for me is like the heart. They call her the heart of Smallville, but that makes her kind of the heart of the show as well. I could watch any storyline centered around her. The kind of like camaraderie she built up with Lois a few weeks ago, that scene they shared together was phenomenal. And I kind of felt the same about the scene she had with Kyle. I know there's history there and I know people have opinions on what he did and whether that needed to happen. But like the history between those two characters felt so real and authentic that the two of them shine whenever they're on screen with each other. And I hope we get to see a lot more of that going forward. I know that's their story and we will see them together. And I hope they resolve it in a way that is loyal to both characters, because I just love watching the two of them. And that like plot device of him having to read her the questions that he was responsible for putting in the mayor's mouth, I thought was just genius. And it was an excellent sequence and a great but dark episode. The family moments stand out, and that's what I love about the show.
Do you know who's driving me crazy?
Hey,
Jonathan.
I knew you were going to say that.
That boy, he's working at this, what is it, like a gas station convenience store to make money for his girlfriend. The way he was describing the situation, I think it was to Jordan. He was like, she needs the money, her dad. And I was like, dude, do you hear yourself? Like, come on. What's not clicking? And then he gets into that altercation with he was the drug dealer guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Jordan comes to save him. I'm like, you can't, it seems like he's like, oh, he told the guy, he was like, if you ever try anything again, I'm going to sick him on you or whatever he said. And it's like, are you going to use your brother as an attack dog? Because that's not okay.
Jonathan's doing the most. But as far as his job, though, Lois is going to be upset when she finds out where that money is going, because he is supposed to be working at that job because he needs to have structure. Like, it was part of his punishment. Like, you can't go to school because you're going to be homeschooled via the school, because I don't know how to describe, he's not been expelled, but he can't be on school property. So now he has to do online school through the town. So I don't know what's going on there. But as far as his attitude goes, I just feel like he's like, Dad won't look at me. And I'm like, Jonathan, you're still messing up though. Like, you won't tell them why you won't reveal the name of the person who gave you the drugs, who they know that you're protecting. And I think eventually when it does come out, Clark and Lois will understand. However, they're not going to care for that young lady. Like, for her safety, yes. For her relationship with their son, not at all. And I just feel like it's very young and stupid, which makes sense because he is young. And he's stupid.
Yeah, he's stupid.
And it works well for the show. I'm just like, please, can we get him past this moment though? Because it feels he's upset, but he's not upset enough to do something about his girlfriend's behavior and how it keeps bringing drama into his life.
And it's interesting that you said they won't care for her. I think that's an interesting choice of words, because that's one part of the show that conflicts me, and that I don't care for her either. And it's because I know this is very much Jonathan's story, but like he's had like 3 thinly written love interests over the last 25 episodes, and the middle one kind of had something to work with, but then in between seasons she was just kind of pushed off to the side and this new girl was ushered in. And I feel like, yes, there's bare bones of a solid story there, but I just don't feel like she feels like she's at the heart of it. I know it's Jonathan's story, but I don't really get her, because we haven't really been allowed to get her. I mean, maybe that's intentional. That's why I'm conflicted over it. But I just feel like that's kind of a thin character, and they haven't done anything to kind of like maximize who she is. She only shows up when the plot requires her to. And that's, I know she's not supposed to be likable, but I don't think that's doing her or the overall arc any kind of service here. Because if we don't care about her, how can we understand Jonathan's passion to keep the status quo at the moment in effect, when his parents don't even get it, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think her name is Candace. We do know that her situation at home isn't great, and that if she were to be found out dealing drugs, that it would be a problem for her and her father. Like, but that little plot point isn't enough for me to, at least personally, for me to feel anything when the both of them said, "I love you." I was just like, okay, well, I'm more interested in why y'all walking like in the dark in the middle of the road
The
when
middle of
something
the
was about
road.
to
Yeah,
happen.
choices were made and none of them were good.
Yes, exactly.
I do think it's funny that Michael said it could be an intentional. It would be a weird intentional choice to like not flesh her out totally, because then I guess we as the audience see it from like Jordan and Clark and Lois's perspective. We're like, we don't even know this girl, and you're like risking your entire life for her.
Mhm.
As a viewer, that's not as fun because we do kind of want to care for her the way Jonathan does, at least a little bit. Like we want to know her, but it could be an intentional choice that we don't know her as well so that we can see it from the family's perspective. That's just giving them the benefit of the doubt. Who knows if they went that deep with it?
But that's a great point. That's why I mean when I say it's so conflicting, because I get both sides of the argument, but it's hard to put that together when you're watching it because we really don't care for Candace in the way that we could if they'd fleshed her out a little bit more.
That's true. That's very true. Because I care about Sarah. I even care about
Mhm.
Aubrey. And that might have to do with just the lightness that the actress who plays Aubrey brings to the table. I will say, though, that Sarah wanting to get the girl that she kissed at camp at the same table with her boyfriend was a bit of it was too much of a stretch for me. I mean, I know Jordan didn't end up going anyway, but that was because of having to save Jonathan, not because he was that weirded out about sitting at the table that he decided to skip the whole meeting. But I was like, Sarah, not it would not be I. I would not be at the table, like not even at their age.
I'm just gonna say it. I'm not emotionally invested in Jordan and Sarah's relationship. I like them both individually. Sarah more than Jordan. I think we all know that. But I'm just not in it.
I feel
Am I
that
wrong? Am I wrong?
the magic sort of boop, like after season one. I think it's just because clearly they're gonna, as much as he was like, I want to marry her, Dad. You don't understand. Sarah's clearly not on that level as Jordan
She
is.
doesn't seem like she likes him at
Not
all.
not as a boyfriend, not anymore, really. Like it just feels
No.
like they're together.
Mm. And that was one of my gripes at the start of the season. It felt like it changed with that explanation. And I know that the whole Aubrey story is where we seem to be heading a little bit more in that direction, and it'll probably change things up. And knowing how dramas usually work, although we've said the show tends to subvert our expectations, normally how dramas usually work is that she'll get more attached to Aubrey and grow more distance from Jordan, and then by the end of the season, the status quo will revert back to normal, and she'll think, "What was I thinking all this time?" I could see that happening because like Sarah and Jordan have been set up to be like this heart of the show. I don't think season two's done them justice in that aspect at all. But I could see them trying to find their way back so that season three can set, now that we know there is a season three, can set them back on that kind of like status quo that like the second season's kind of robbed them off. I'm interested to see where the whole Aubrey story goes, but it does feel like they're like stretching these stories out to within an inch of their life, both with Jonathan and Candace, and now Sarah and Aubrey, without actually giving us the heart and the or the bones of it, if you know what I mean. We're just kind of like getting them on the surface, and I'd like them to go a bit deeper into both stories.
I feel the same. I think that the issue is that they want to do drama with the brothers when it comes to how where their position is in the family, even though their parents aren't pitting them against each other, and neither is their grandfather. But I feel like Jonathan just really feels out in the cold, even though he's not being treated that way. And Jordan really, really wants to step up his game as a potential Superboy. But then you have these romances to the side. I mean, in like this, like that, you can be very, very focused on one thing to the detriment of another part of your life. I just feel like Sarah's storyline is not quite meshing with Jordan's, and it's becoming more and more obvious the more episodes that come out, the less that they seem to be able to connect about anything, and the more she's being a bit judgy about what he can and cannot handle simply because his family's fine in her mind and hers isn't. But it also could just be because Sarah's done and she just hasn't realized that she's done with her relationship with Jordan on a romantic level. So we'll just have to see whether she gets to that epiphany.
It's very interesting the way the dynamics have changed this season. And that, we did mention that maybe they'll get back on track before the end of the season. But what's interesting is maybe Sarah will find out I feel like that's why they can't kill that relationship, because we do have that hook of when will Sarah find out who his family really is. And maybe when she finds it out, she'll be like, oh, hold on a minute, you did have all this drama, I didn't know about it. And then that'll make her see him in a whole new light. It sounds a bit surface level when you say it like that, but I could see them going down that route, because you're right. I thought she was quite judgy towards him without actually ever knowing the full story. When she knew how like anxiety written he was in season 1, that was a bit of a like hard pivot to suddenly change her mind and behave like that in season 2.
Someone has to find out this season, right?
I would think.
I think
Like at the
so.
end of the season. Okay. Yeah.
I
Hopefully
feel
not
like it
Candace.
changed.
Candace, I can't deal with her.
I feel like that had changed the dynamic of it. Not Candace, we don't need that. She'd take the secret off screen and never show up ever again. But the fact is, someone like Sarah finding out would definitely like switch the dynamic up a little bit.
What if it was Lucy? Because I'm not quite sure that Lucy knows that Clark is Superman, like at all.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure either. I don't know. I don't think so, because like that would suggest Ali would know, and I don't think Ali does know. Maybe that's something that we're being led into believing. I know obviously on when Lucy was on Supergirl, she did find out, she knew about James's close relationship with Clark and Kara, but she found out Kara was Supergirl, but I don't know if she ever found out Clark was Superman. That was never referenced, and I know Crisis has kind of rewritten things. So it'll be interesting to see what that dynamic was like, because this Lucy seems to have been really close to the Kents before this all went wrong. So can she get back there? What does she actually know?
Speaking of Lucy, she needs to not. Like, what was that? First she's dead, then she's alive and nice, and then she's like, JK, I'm gonna drug my father and steal his badge.
I know, it kind of came out of nowhere. I genuinely didn't think she was going to show up in that episode. I didn't see her name on the credits, but maybe that was just me. I didn't think she was going to be in that. So then when we saw her, I was like, oh, she's alive. And I was like, wait a minute, because she was like I need to go home and just sleep. And I was like, can Dad take me home? I was like, I don't like where this is going. So I kind of seen that coming in the last minute.
I didn't.
I didn't either.
I was like, she's the reason I have trust issues. I don't know whether she's coming or going.
She doesn't either. And okay, so if we're going to talk about weak points, her motivation is still not there. Like, I know that she has a hole inside of her, and that she just feels like she's found community through Ali's whole cult situation. But like, I'm like, Lucy, I don't understand. Like, I want to get on her mental train, not because I just want to understand her perspective, and I'm not getting it. Like, we're okay with Ali drugging people, you're okay with drugging your father. Like, when are we not going to be okay? That's what I want to know. Like, when will we suddenly be like, this is a step too far? Because apparently everything is on the table right now.
Yeah, and I feel like at the start I did get where she was at the start, because it was obviously such like jarring character development compared to what the Lucy we knew in Supergirl have had it all together. So it was so unique to see her like be like manipulated by Ali. I got that totally, but you're right. Now Ali's kind of just crossed the line from like realistic cult like leader into Superman villain. And Lucy hasn't batted an eyelid at that. She's not like, oh, wait a minute, that's wrong. She's like, oh, Ali needs this and Ali needs that. And like, Ali's pushing the boundaries, but I'm still going to help her. And I'm like, no, this is exactly what Lois was warning you about, and she hasn't caught on yet. So I know the whole point is that she's supposed to be so deeply within this mentality that she doesn't say it. But like, now that she started perpetrating the acts on her own family, I'm like, when are you going to say it?
I'm just ready for Lois to go off on everyone. Be like, y'all should listen to me. I was right. No one listens to me. I've been screaming all this at you guys and no one listens. She needs to do it, and she'll be right.
It'll probably be next episode, based on the preview.
Just wait for Bitsy to kill it. Just wait for it.
And she will. I mean, there was one thing though from this episode that, I said I had one fear for Superman and Lois, and that was them ever doing a cheating storyline, whether it was Lois or Clark. I now have an additional fear, and it's Clark's fault. And it's because he held Lois and he was like, I'm never going anywhere. I'll always be here. And I was like, Clark, darn it. like you, every time someone says that, they're about to disappear, and the person they said it to is about to fall to pieces. And I don't want to see Lois hurt like that.
I know. And I feel like the promos really set us up there. Clark really set us up for failure because the promo for next week's episode, I believe the last shot was literally you saw the glasses sitting on the table like that there. And as we've seen on Supergirl before, that always suggests that the hero's gone missing in action. Will we ever see them again? Drama, 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 heartbreak, heartbreak, heartbreak. And like poor Lois does not need that in her life right now. So they're going to have to come up with why ever Superman's gone missing. They're going to have to write Clark out of their lives, find an excuse for what happened to him. Why are his glasses sitting on the bedside table when he's supposed to be on assignment in Metropolis? You know what I mean? excuses. So I feel like this episode, I'm really intrigued to see where next week's episode goes because both the synopsis and the promo photos are only saying one thing. And the trailer showed a completely different aspect of the story. So usually when that happens, I feel like they're hiding stuff from us. And I cannot wait to see what that episode unleashes because that was not the trailer I was expecting when it started. So I can't wait to see what the actual episode has in store for us.
Totally ready to cry next Tuesday.